Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to the I Love You So Much YouTube channel. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get started with the episode. Oh my god, I am so glad that you're here today.
I'm so happy to be here too.
I have been looking forward to this for weeks.
I know, because it's been we've been like low-key planning this for a while. I feel like we always knew that we needed a collab.
We always knew deep down. It just had
we
to
had
happen.
a feeling like it was coming. If something was happening, like we're just too similar to not.
Yes, and we're also, all my friends are obsessed with you. Like,
oh my God.
My friends who like aren't even, I actually cannot stress this enough. Like, my friends at home are so normal, and like they are not super into like internet stuff.
Yeah.
All of them love you.
Oh my
like
God.
you are everyone's favorite. I am equally like, we're like
obsessed.
watching the stories. We're obsessed.
I love it.
I'm kind of like this crazy like fan on your Instagram.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't know if you've noticed.
We always chat on Insta.
Okay, good. I was just like hoping I wasn't overdoing it.
Okay, well the thing is like people, because my DMs are like loaded because I answer them.
Yes.
So the problem is like even though I have less followers than so many people do, I probably get more DMs because I like actively answer them.
Absolutely.
But because of that, I can also recognize like if you DM me or like if anyone, like I see when my mom DMs me, like my friends, like maybe occasionally I'll miss something, but I'm pretty good about like being able to like just answer when actual people, everyone's actual person, but you know what I mean.
Do you get overwhelmed by the amount of messages you get on Instagram?
Like, yes and no. I mean, it's like really easy to set a boundary to just like not reply or like not open them, I guess would be the best way to say it. And like my followers are really like, I think because of how often I do the question boxes and like with the amount of energy that I do them, they're really good about like, if they really need something personally, they'll bump me. But otherwise, like if I don't respond and then like a week later I respond to something else, but I don't address like the first message, like they never like, I don't know, they don't push back like because I think I'm delivering in other ways. But yeah, it can definitely be overwhelming. My first management company that I had was like, you have to get out of the DM trenches because if you're spending 3 hours answering 5 people, you're just completely ignoring the other like 40,000 whatever amount of people that you could be like doing things for the masses. So like I think I've gotten to a place where I'm like better off now than I was.
I just think about when I'll do like question boxes or answer DMs and stuff, and I don't know what it is. Like oddly enough, nothing really about social media gives me anxiety, but my DMs do, because I feel like I want to respond to everyone, but it just like something about it like stresses me out. I don't know why, but people don't realize how much emotional energy that takes for you.
It
like
does.
24/7. You literally, it's like every day.
It's like every day. I do it Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then like this Wednesday, like for example, like the Wednesday before this recording session, I just was having like a day where like my brain wasn't working and I was like, there's just no way I'm answering these today. But then I started to feel bad because I was like, what it is for me is that people like put the box and they like take 5 seconds or however much time that it is to actually ask something that they want an answer for. And that to me, like, I don't take that lightly. So then I'm like, oh fuck, like these people dedicated their time. I want to dedicate time back to them. But I think everyone's really understanding, which is good.
Yeah. I always think that like even someone commenting on an Instagram photo, I'm like, that is so nice. Like for someone that it actually is, because that's also time. But like, I don't know. I just feel like that's like a really nice thing.
It's a nice thing. I totally agree.
Okay. So I want to do kind of like rules for post-grad with you.
Okay.
I've been getting a lot of questions. My podcast, little background. I started talking about navigating your 20s.
Okay.
And like what a hit. Big hit here on the I Love You So Much podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want us specifically to talk about like navigating kind of post-grad.
Okay.
What was your post-grad, like what are your post-grad feelings?
Okay. So I graduated in 2020, for those who don't know, from the University of Michigan, but I didn't technically graduate because I was sent home in March. So I went home in March, just to give a little context, and then in August I moved to the city to go to Columbia journalism program for a year. So then I got my master's for a year. I graduated a year ago now, like literally this weekend a year ago. And so I've been kind of navigating that for the past like 2 years. I think that like my feelings are like kind of twofold. So the first one is that like my college experience was amazing, but I think it was a lot different than other people's, where like I didn't feel like I peaked in college, and I actually think that college was more difficult for me than it was fun and exciting. And so I kind of push back against the notion of like college is the best 4 years of your life, because I frankly had a better time in post-grad. My first year of post-grad was really rocky, but the second one has been like absolutely phenomenally better than all 4 years of my college and the first year of post-grad combined. So like I can't stress it enough. Like I don't want college to be the best 4 years of my life. I don't even want this year to be the best year of my life. Like I want to lie on my deathbed and say like 45 was the best year of my life. Like I want it to keep getting better. So like that's one thing that I think is like really big for me when I think about post-grad. But the other thing is like I think that there's this pressure to have it figured out in post-grad in your 20s. And like a lot of people like look at it like, oh, it's the time to have it figured out. But I actually think 30s are the time to have it figured out. Like 20s are the what the fuck am I doing time. And if you don't treat it as such, you're not going to figure out what the fuck you're doing. And then like you're not going to get to like celebrate that like calm after the storm in your 30s. And like I really do believe that to be true. Like I really didn't know what I was doing when I graduated college. I didn't know what I was doing when I was at Columbia Journalism School. I literally didn't even know what I was doing probably until like last fucking week at this point. I still don't know what I'm doing. And I think like I don't want to know what I'm doing. Like that could be reserved for like when I'm 30 years old. Like this is supposed to be the what the fuck time. And so I think that's how I feel about postgrad. I think there's a lot of like stuff out there that makes people feel like it's like now is the time for the real world. College is over. Fun days are over. And I'm like, it's just like a pathetic way to look at the world.
It really is. Do you think we ever really like have it figured out?
Like no.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because like what is life?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I feel like we're always just moving and trying our best. I don't think anyone ever has it figured out. I had a kind of similar experience. I mean, I graduated 2020. I didn't go to like grad school or anything, but I liked my college experience kind of, and part of it I really didn't like at all. So I was not someone who peaked in college by any means. In fact, I think I thought I liked it at the time. I think I was like kind of gaslighting myself a little bit too. And also like at that time you see all of your friends who are at like other schools, and I didn't go to like a big university anyways, but like you see people having so much fun and whatever. I think I just like made myself think I liked it. But now looking back, my life has gotten, since graduating college, I cannot tell you how much better my life has gotten. With that being said, my first year out,
it was tough.
It was tough. It was, and because like I've had my career, I've been doing this since high school. Like I didn't really think I was gonna have like the post-grad blues because I wasn't like transitioning into a new job necessarily. So I just thought I was exempt from that for whatever reason. Totally. No, spoiler alert, it didn't happen. And I feel like I had like the biggest identity crisis that I'd never really had before. I like kind of was born and was like, this is who I am. And then post-grad, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm so confused. So I had a similar experience. And then I really was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like uncertainty, which unfortunately is like your entire 20s. Yeah. Went to a lot of therapy, read a lot of books, did a lot of like work. And then it ended up being like, the past year of my life has by far been the best year so far. Literally. Like absolutely the best.
I'm the same way.
But I just think it's important to say like I didn't really love my college experience, and that's okay.
I'm the same way.
So many people, I mean I have one friend who I know who didn't love her college experience. Everyone else around me.
I literally have one friend from college. Like
yeah. Literally have I don't have that many from college. I have like my 3 from college.
Yeah, like I'm just like, it wasn't it for me.
It was not it for me. But I love like your school pride. Like I really
I do love Michigan. And like to be fair, I had a friend group of older kids and they were in the theater school. But we weren't like, we were a friend group that would like go pregame watching shows and theater. And like that was my nerdy things that I loved to do with my friends. And then they all graduated and they left me. Or they were younger. And so, but in like quote unquote like cool kid vibes of Michigan, like Greek life and whatever, I had one friend that was like in my grade and like she's my best fucking friend in the world. But I don't know, I have like an incommensurable amount of pride for Michigan, like because it built me, but it also like literally destroyed me at the same time.
And, you know, that's important to know. Yeah. These are important things to be sharing with the class.
Yeah, we need to share them with the class.
No, we do. Okay, so let's talk about kind of like, let's start off a little bit with like post-grad blues or whatever you want to call it. We're going to go into like making friends post-grad and like living your best life as well. This is actually perfect timing. I didn't even think about this.
No, yeah, we're in like about to hit graduation for a lot of kids.
Wow. Okay, so congrats everyone. I didn't plan that. It wasn't intentional, but I'm feeling really good about the timing.
You're gonna rock the world. We're proud of you.
We're really proud of you. Okay, so post-grad blues. Let's speak to the recent college grads right now. What do they need to hear?
That's a really good question. I think just like grab it by the balls and know that you can do anything. No, I'm serious because I'm literally not kidding. I moved to New York and I would wake up every day and be like, fuck this. I literally am depressed. I don't like it here. And I was just filling my world with negativity and thinking that I couldn't do anything because nothing was coming to me. And I was like trudging to my classes and like going on dates and being so bitter and angry. And then I remember I went and visited Allie, my best friend, in December. And she had accepted a job in San Diego after graduation. San Francisco. What the fuck? I don't know, California. She had accepted a job in San Francisco. She was planning on moving there. She's from Arizona. She was quarantining in Arizona. And she just got this gut instinct that she really didn't want to do that. And so she quit her job in San Francisco, flew out to Chicago, checked out the apartments, literally did not know that many people there, found an apartment, texted somebody from freshman year, found her to room with her. Then she got this amazing job, met the love of her life, has an amazing friend group, and was fucking thriving. So I go and visit her in December of 2020, and this is my first traveling since like the pandemic at all. And I'm like, wait a second, like she literally just grabbed it by the balls. She said, I'm depressed and I'm unhappy. I'm going to change that. And of course, we're not talking about like deep depression. That's when you need therapy. That's when you need like actual help.
Medicine,
we're talking about
whatever it is.
She was just having a depressive streak, and like she decided to just take advantage of her own happiness and like just grab it by the balls, and she literally did it. And so then I was sitting in the airport and I just had this breakthrough of like, why can't I just be positive? Like, why can't I just like, the law of attraction states that positivity out, positivity in. So if you're filling the world with positivity, if you're walking around and being like, today's going to be a good day, even if you don't believe it, fake it till you make it, eventually that's going to start coming back to you. And that's exactly what happened to her. Like, she was being so negative Nelly, but then she just switched it and was like, I'm going to be positive. Meets the love of her life, amazing friends, amazing job, thriving, loves Chicago. She's from Arizona. She never thought she would move to Chicago. And so I think like that is the exact thing that you need to do. You need to grab it by the balls. You need to realize that like anything is, you're allowed to do anything. There's no supposed to, there's no should, there's no have to. Like all you have to do is like grab by the balls and like do the thing that's going to make you take control of your own happiness. And I wish I did that a little sooner because it took me a while.
I would say also like, we've already said this, but like no one knows what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
So don't freak out. Even we were on FaceTime with a friend from college last night, and Dom is my actually best friend from college. Okay. Like people think we like met through social media. Dom and I met in college. She didn't have a social media presence, and then she went viral from like graphics like over 2020.
Yeah.
Anyways, we were on FaceTime with an old college friend, and he was just saying like, hey, I'm really not happy with my job, my career path, whatever. And I was like, I totally hear that, and that is valid, and like obviously make the moves that you need to make, but it was more so like there was like shame, kind of like, or like more pressure.
She felt embarrassed or something.
Yeah, kind of, yes. Like, and I'm like, it's so common. We don't need to know what we have. We do not know what we're going to end up doing for the rest of our lives. I'm like, there are definitely like career moves, and there's so many things about my life that I will end up having and loving that I probably don't even know that I like right now.
Literally.
So it's like giving yourself the freedom to change your mind, to also know that you don't need to have everything figured out right now, which is a lot easier said than done. Like everyone told me that, and I was like, but like I do need to figure it out. And actually you really, really, really don't. And then I would also say like lean into both the uncertainty and then also lean into the world around you. Like you were saying, like you were not very happy. It was a hard time. And I think like I love living in Dallas. Like that has been my post-grad experience. But at that point when I was like, okay, I'm kind of miserable, I don't know what I'm doing, whatever, I wasn't really leaning into my life in Dallas. Like I was just staying home all the time. And like I had gone through a 2-year period where I was a really big homebody before the pandemic even started.
Yeah. And
then I was like, you know what? I think at this phase of my life, I like want to go see my friends and hang out. And so I reconnected with so many old friends that I had from home, and then made a lot of new friends, and then just made my life in Dallas like my dream life.
Yeah.
But that's because I leaned into it, and I basically did what you ended up doing. Like I was like, I can't.
You just chose to be happy.
Yeah. Like I can't complain and sit here and be like, okay, I'm like miserable, and then not make any difference. So I really did like invest into the relationships around me, the life I was building, even like my daily habits in Dallas.
Yeah.
And like night and day difference. So, like 2020 me, which I'm sure everyone feels this way, but like pandemic aside, 2020 me versus like 2021, different person. Like different
person. And I think also like people are always like, my dream job, my dream life, blah, blah, blah. Like I really shy away from those phrases because I think like your dream is something that you don't even know is possible.
Yes.
And maybe there is a chance that the quote unquote dream job is your dream job and you get it and it ends up being your dream life. But I think that verbiage can be so harmful. Mm-hmm. So I also threw that away. Like I stopped saying
very good point.
I stopped saying like dream school, dream job, because what I'm currently doing right now is my dream life, and I didn't even know that it existed, that it was possible for me, that it was out there. I didn't even know it was like an opportunity, a thing, something I could go after. Like, so I stopped using that because I was like, my dream was something I didn't even know existed.
So that's how I feel about my life. So it wasn't necessarily something that I was like working towards.
Yeah.
So that's actually a very fair
like
point.
happened.
It just happened, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine better. Obviously, it will get better, but that's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk making friends post-grad.
Yes.
How have you mainly like made friends?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm super lucky because I'm from the area that I live. So like I live in New York City, but I'm from New Jersey, and like my whole entire high school like actually is here. Like my best friends from high school are here, and then like a lot of people from college. I would say like Michigan splits up pretty nicely where it's like New York, Chicago, like some people go to the West Coast, but it's like hardly. And so I think like a lot of people that I know are already here. And then on top of it, social media has made it like tremendously easy for me to make friends and connect to people. Yeah. Plus my family's here, plus my boyfriend. But I always say, and I cannot stress this enough, Facebook groups and like joining like meetup.com are two of the best ways to do it. Other than like everybody always says, go to workout classes, go to cooking classes. Like classes are really good, and going to things frequently is really good because then you're going to see the same people. And even if they're not going to become your friends, maybe they're just a connection that you can make. Like, okay, that girl's at the yoga class every single time when I'm there. Like eventually it's like a familiar face. Eventually I'll probably talk to her. But I think Facebook groups and meetup.com are great because it's all people looking for the same thing. And I also think that that's why Bumble BFF is also so awesome because it's like all people looking for the same thing. Like literally I have a Facebook group for my followers, and girls have found roommates through it. They've gone on trips together. Like there's just like so much, and it's like it's crazy. I'm like, holy shit, like this is insane. Like people are literally finding lifelong friends through this. And I think if I didn't have the outlets that I do, plus the like wonderful ability to be so close to like so many people I know, I would definitely use Bumble BFF. Like there's no shame in that. Like it's the same thing as going to find someone to date using Bumble.
Absolutely. So I have the same thing. I don't use my Facebook group anymore. I use like my Geneva group.
Okay.
But I'm not kidding. Every single day in Dallas, someone comes up to me and is like, oh my God, I met my best friends through that. Even last night, I'm in New York, and there was a group of girls who went to my friend Claudia's show who like went together from the Geneva chat.
Yeah.
It works. I literally see it 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm similar in that I grew up outside of Dallas. So when I moved to Dallas, so many of my friends from home live there. My cousins live there. My family lives there. Like I did have a lot of like built-in friends. And then also with social media, I've made so many friends just from social media in general. Yeah. So I do feel like that's a little bit of like a cheat. So I'm honestly in the same way. But I am so passionate about the Geneva chat. Like I cannot tell you how many people have met and made friends. Like I literally meet them all the time. It works. Yeah. But if I lived in a different city, I would be doing that. When I first moved to LA, obviously I had friends from like social media before that.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends too that I met were like friends of friends. Like I would go somewhere. You just had to be open to talking to people, which I think is like, it's really easy to be like, oh my God, I have no friends. And then you go somewhere where like you would meet a friend, but like you don't talk to anyone that you don't know, because it can be scary and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you have to like put in the effort to have a friend. You have to be a friend.
Literally.
So you have to put in the effort and start talking to people.
Yeah.
Which I know that sounds kind of stupid, but like I've done it. Like the amount of times I've gone somewhere and like only talked to the people that I knew, unless I'm like meeting someone that they're introducing me to. So I think that also being open, I will say Dallas specifically is like a very friendly city. Yeah. So it's a lot easier. Like you actually do make friends at like bars, whereas in like a lot of other cities, people say like you don't.
Yeah.
But I would say also like just being open. And then any other new friends that are like really close friends of mine in Dallas, were also like college friends of my high school friends.
Oh,
so it was through friends. You know?
Yeah, but also like let your friends introduce you to their other friends. Like that's how people meet each other in general all the time.
And that's how I've met like some of my favorite friends. I was in Dallas. I'm like, I love the originals too, but like I do love those people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like a really big thing.
Totally.
Okay, let's talk about roommate problems.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure you do as well. I get an unbelievable amount of the same question, I will say. Like, I've been dealing with roommate drama. Yeah. I've had so many conversations with them. Nothing's helping. Like, what are your best tips for living with roommates when it's maybe a more negative environment?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. So for me, like, I've been really lucky to say that all of my experiences have been like generally really positive. However, when I was a junior in college, like most of my followers know this story, but like Allie and I were supposed to live with this other girl, and then she really randomly had to drop out of school before we moved in, and she was like had already signed the lease. The landlord was like, the only way that she can get out of it, like the only way I'll let her out of paying for it, is if you guys move into a 5-bedroom with 3 random strangers. We'll dock your rent, but we need that 3-bedroom unit. Like they wanted to fill the unit, so like they wanted to be able to make money. So we were like, fine, obviously, because we didn't want our friend who dropped out to have to pay a monthly rent for an apartment that she wasn't going to be in. So we did it, and one of the guys was just like, it was just really bad, like almost restraining order level. Like he was just scary and like bad. But anyway, like it was just bad.
But anyway,
like what we did was we basically just like communicated with him one time. We're like, this isn't working. We're not having any conversations that are working. We're just gonna all agree to be civil. We're not gonna really talk to you. You're not really gonna talk to us. If I see you in the kitchen, I'll say good morning, I'll say hello, but like you do your part, I'm doing mine, we're not talking. And we just did that for the year, and it was literally fine.
Okay, it
was so fucking easy. Like all we did was have a sit down with him, because like eventually it got to the point where like we just couldn't formulate any conversations that were doing anything whatsoever. Yeah. And so we just decided to be like civil. We were like, okay, we're not friends. We all share this space. Like Allie and I had our own bathroom. He had his. The other 2 guys had their own bathrooms. Like I don't really cook, and Allie like hardly cooked, and like there was 2 living rooms, and one of the living rooms was in between me and Allie's bedroom, so we basically just stayed back there. We're like, we'll stay out of your way, you stay out of ours. And like, is that ideal? No, it sucked. It was kind of awkward when we had to see him in the apartment, but like at the end of the day, like I literally remember that year of like that was the farthest thing down on the list that I remember from the year, because it was like so easy once we just decided to just not be friends with him anymore and just be completely civil and like not talk.
Yeah, that's actually a genius way to deal with it.
It was just so easy. Like, it was just mature, too.
Very mature.
Like, we were just like, all right, like, we're all going to just cohabitate. Why does it need to be a whole thing? We don't need to be friends. Like, clearly this isn't going to work like that.
I had really positive, for the most part, experiences with roommates as well. But I will say, like, even looking back on it, and I also grew up in a family. I literally had, like, 8 siblings growing up. Like, 6 of them step. But so many siblings, which I think really helped me to be able to live with roommates. But I think back to certain things that I maybe didn't voice, or that annoyed me, or I was like, whatever, or like certain arguments that like another roommate had with another. And I'm like, that was just so stupid. Like, there's so many things as you're young too.
Yeah.
And it's your living space, and you'll get really caught up in it. And like, that's also kind of your world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I look back at now, and I'm like, why was that even an argument? Or like, that was just not worth it for what it's worth. But I do think that's a really good tip, because people do get to that point more often than not.
Yeah. And like, if it's like really, if you are just having like 1 or 2 problems, like always just address it like cordially, and like don't accuse, just try to come to like a happy medium. But if it keeps happening and you can't do that, and you also don't want to be their friend, there's no reason why you can't just like lay out a guideline. Like we literally just laid out boundaries, like you don't talk to us, we don't talk to you unless we have to.
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
Like we all pay our rent separately anyways on a portal. Like we don't really need to converse with you at all. And then like the last week of school, like we talked to him again, like for a little bit. We're kind of just like, all right, like this is over now, but like good job.
Yeah. Okay, what are your best tips for being a good roommate?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm a really non-confrontational person, so like you have to take that with a grain of salt. But I think like when something's bothering you, voice it immediately, or otherwise you're going to resent them. Like if somebody isn't taking out the trash, and like I hate when people are like, so what I did was I just left the trash piling over until I saw if they were going to take it out or not, and then they didn't, so I finally had to. I'm like, why didn't you just ask? Like, what the fuck? It annoys me so much when people are like, she wouldn't clean out the fridge, so I just left it festering and moldy. I'm like, but she's not cleaning out the fridge, so she's not gonna when it festers and molds.
Yes. And
don't do it for her. Instead, just ask. And then if you ask and ask and ask and she's not answering, then like you're gonna have a bigger problem on like, or if she's not like communicating. So I think like just immediately communicate when something is up and something is bothering you. We have like rules set up that we do. Like we like don't leave food on like in bags. We always just trash it right after we eat. Like we don't leave dishes in the sink. Like me and my roommates are like, it's kind of a perfect situation, but like we set up a couple rules that's like, you know, everything's good in that way. And I also just think having the same priorities as your roommates is really helpful before you move in. I know not everybody gets to choose, but like we all have the same priorities. We all go out the same amount. My one roommate has a boyfriend. The other one has a lot of friends, and she has them over a bunch. And like we just know like that she's always going to clean up, like that when we have a party, like everything is sparkling by the next morning. Like we just have the same exact priorities. Like we lock the like we're all on the same page, and so like that's really wonderful. But like we knew that going in, And so I think like preemptively know what you want from a roommate, preemptively know what your friends are like in those situations. And like, it's okay to say to a friend, like, I think that living together might stifle or like hurt our friendship, and I don't think it's a good idea. Like, preserve your friendship. Don't rush into a living situation with someone that you know you're not going to live well with.
And also, like, say that. I have so many, like, I think all of us have been in so many situations or seen so many situations where so-and-so thinks they're moving in with someone, and then the friend's like, I'm not living with them, and then it goes on. I've seen that actually end, like, multiple friendships in LA. I think being upfront from the start, so whether it's like, hey, I don't think that we should move in together, or when you are moving in together, I think having, like, a really clear conversation. At one of my, like, houses, we did this, and it was like, okay, what would it really annoy you? Like, what are your boundaries? How do you feel about, obviously, we never, like, walked into each other's rooms, things like that. Or, like, cleaning, if there needs to be, like, we never ended up like, we never did, like, a chore chart because we just, like, didn't need to. But, like, for some people, that works. You know, like, whatever it is that works for you guys, I would try to do that and get ahead of it, like, immediately.
Yeah.
And also, having a roommate is, I'm not a very confrontational person either.
Yeah.
Having roommates is a very good way to exercise having, like, hard conversations with people that you would normally avoid. And it's actually normally, from my experience, every, like, hard conversation I've really ever had was so much scarier in my head than it actually ended up being. It's really not as bad as you think. And naturally, I think we're always going to, like, catastrophize in thinking.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Yeah, but you're so right. Just have those, like, very clear conversations, and then you're not going to get into issues, like, about the trash or about, like, people barging into your room, or, like, if you want to have a rule that, like, you know, we don't have guests every single night, like, lay that out in the beginning.
Yes. And that, I think, saying it, the earlier you say it, the better, and it will save you a world of problems.
Literally.
Okay, let's talk. I want to talk about, like, dating and being single. Let's start with dating.
Okay.
You are, like, first off, you guys are the cutest couple I've ever seen in my entire life.
Thank you.
Let's talk, like, dating apps, or just, like, how to meet a partner that maybe could be right for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think dating apps are the way to go, especially, like, post-pandemic. Like, I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to be on dating apps. Okay, that's fine. My one advice, if you don't want to be on dating apps, is go to places where a future partner would be for you. So if you want to date somebody that's, like, into beer because you like breweries, then go hang out at breweries on the weekends. If you want to date somebody who likes books because you like to read, then go to bookstores and, like, go to author readings and, like, signings. If you want to date somebody who likes art, go to art gallery openings. Like, you have to do things like that in order to meet people that, like, are actually going to be, like, lasting individuals that could actually, like, be a partner for you. Like, go to places where a future partner would be. I think that's, like, my big one. But I think dating apps can be so great because it's like, people are like, I'm so embarrassed with them, or I think that they're so this or so that, and I'm like, your parents were probably super embarrassed calling each other on their fucking house phone. It's literally just the modern version of that. Like, your parents, like, just probably met, like, randomly, like, at a random bar or something, like, or, like, in class or whatever. Like, you can still meet like that, but it's also just, like, a really good way to, like, get comfortable with dating, I think. And, like, yeah, if you're burnt out from it, take a break. Like, you don't need to be, I always say, you don't need to run into traffic, like, looking for a car to hit you, because it'll probably slam on its brakes. Like, you're allowed to just cross the street without looking both ways and, like, let life happen to you. But I think, like, keeping yourself, like, active in the dating world, if you do want to date, it's, like, fun. It's so low stakes. Like, I'm such a, like, who cares mentality person, but it's really, like, okay, you go on a date and it's not good, like, who cares? Next one. Like, that's their loss. They're not the right person. It's the universe just guiding you in a different direction. So I'm really big on, like, just do it. It's fun. And the stakes are, like, so incredibly low when you're dating, like, just casually. Like, you're just meeting someone for the first time. It's either going to work out or it's not. You don't have to look at them like a romantic partner, like, the second that you meet them. And I think in our 20s, we get, like, really, really really, like, upset when, like, something doesn't work out on a first date, and that's totally valid. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you just looked at it like, I'm meeting someone for the first time, it might be romantic, we might end up being friends, we might never talk again, like, okay, the stakes are so low. Like, it's either going to be a funny story to tell your friends or a second date, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a really healthy mentality.
Yeah, I think it's just helpful because people get really, really, like, in their own head about dating in your 20s, especially in New York. People are like, dating in New York sucks. I'm like, I don't really get it. I don't think it does. There's so many people.
Also, New York, people actually date.
Yeah.
Like, in LA, people don't do that. Like, when I'm visiting friends in New York versus visiting friends in LA, my friends in LA haven't been on a date in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And like New York, it's like they go weekly. Like it's I think it's way better.
Also, there's a million things to do.
Yeah.
If you want to go on a date in New York, you can go to a comedy club, you can go to a gallery opening, you can go see a show, a concert, you can go to dinner, drinks, a cooking club. Like there's a fuck ton of things to do. There are so many people. I don't get it when people say dating in New York sucks. Maybe it sucks because everyone's super driven and in their own lane, but like somebody eventually will let you in their lane if they think that if you're right for each other, you're going to let each other in each other's lanes. Like people are in their own lane until there's somebody worth it, I think.
What about living your best single life?
Okay. I like love a single era. I think like I always say like being single and being in a relationship are pretty equivalent. Like one is not more superior to the other. Like they're the same thing. If you know what I mean? Like people are always like, oh, I'm single and all my friends are in relationships. What if it was like, oh, my friends are in relationships and I'm single? Like, it's the same. Like, there's no, like, moral value to either of them.
There's not a hierarchy.
No, they're the same. Like, one is not better than the other. And I think you would rather be single than be in a relationship that doesn't serve you. And we forget to tell people that. And I think casually dating and, like, casual hookups and, like, having, like, a single girl phase or era is so fun. I did it when I first moved to the city, and I loved it. I loved going on dates that meant nothing. I loved like hooking up with guys that I like would never see again. Like I just think it's empowering if that's what you want, and you just block out the noise. People like, why are you single? Like if someone asks why are you single, I would literally ask them, why are you dating someone? If someone asks why are you dating somebody, I'd be like, why are you single? Like I just don't like when people ask you what you're doing. Like you do whatever you want to do that makes you feel the best about yourself, and like that's enough.
Yeah. I'm in my single era, and I've gotten to the point where like I love being single so much that like the thought of like a relationship at this point, it's just like I'm not there, you know?
Yeah.
But I love being single. It is so much fun. You have so much freedom. You have the least amount of responsibility that you'll probably have for the rest of your life. Like, and I mean like marriage, kids, like as you keep going on and on. You have a lot more time to just like be selfish and make your own decisions just because you don't have to like account for someone else, which that doesn't mean that holds you back. Yeah. It's just like you have less people that are like giving opinions on things, on like what you should be doing. So being single, you just like truly have so much freedom, which you should also have in relationships. But I literally just mean like there is one person and there's two people. Like you do think about them when you make decisions. So I love being single. It's very fun. I've invested so much into friendships. My relationships around me have like never been better. Not that they were bad before, but like I just have so much time. Like I'm young. I can travel with my friends all the time. I can go do this. If I want to be in New York this weekend, I can be there. I can do this. And like, again, not that I wouldn't be able to do that in a relationship, but again, I just am so free and I can do whatever I want and I don't have to think about anyone else. Totally. So there's a lot of pros. I'm not someone who like, I don't know. I just have never like looked at, I feel the same way you do. I've never looked at being single or being in a relationship. Like they're not like, one's not good, one's not bad, you know? It just like works out. But I will say my single era, I was in a very serious relationship before. And like for anyone who's like going through breakup, like now, thank God we broke up. We were so not right for each other.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, like, especially in college, you have, like, blinders on. And you're like, no, this is my person.
Yeah.
And everything about my life has just gotten not as a dig towards him, like, literally at all. I hope this is probably the same for his life. Like, everything in my life has just gotten so much better. And I think that that's just kind of, like, proof that, like, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
And I wasn't before. So being single has been like so much fun. I've learned so much about myself. I just think everything about it has been so great.
Yeah.
And when I eventually meet someone, that's also great. But like I'm living my best single life now. Well, and it's great.
Also, once you meet someone, it's like you put the work in to like develop this lovely relationship with yourself that's like so fulfilling that like you don't need them, you just want them in your life.
Yes.
And I think that that's like such an important distinction, like to not need them but just to want to have them around.
Okay, let's talk about that because I feel like that is kind of hard for some people to navigate. How do you like navigate that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people say like you have to love yourself before someone else can love you, and I just don't disagree. I just completely disagree with that. I think it's entirely unrealistic to expect human beings, specifically women, to love themselves 24/7. I literally don't. I'm very open and honest about that. I think it's the most unrealistic thing to tell a woman to love herself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not gonna happen.
It's also like a journey. Like it's like, and you can do that more and more as life goes on. Like you're never, I hate the idea. And I think a lot of things in life push this idea that you have to be in the perfect spot and the perfect place, the perfect relationship with yourself to then get into a relationship. And I think that's very toxic.
Think that's so stupid. Also, you can fall in love with yourself more watching somebody else fall in love with you.
Yeah.
I think you have to respect yourself before somebody else can love you, and you have to know yourself before somebody else can love you. And with that in mind, like if you fully know who you are and you're confident in that and you respect who you are and you're confident in that, then when someone comes along, you're just going to want them around, but you're not going to require them. Like breaking up with my boyfriend now would be like probably the most devastating thing I ever went through. Like I don't want that to happen, but I don't need him. I want him. I don't need him. Like I'm going to see him tonight, and like I'm so excited because I want to see him. I want to be around him. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a few days, but I don't need to see him. Like I've been so fine for like 5-6 days on my own, sleeping by myself, like chilling, like whatever, and I think that that's really important, like the want versus the need, because if you need somebody, then they're going to start resenting you, because it's like an analogy of like gas tanks. So if you are a human being comprised of like 10 gas tanks, one of them is for your career, one of them is for your school, one of them is for your family, one of them is for your friends, one of them is like your romantic life. Like you can't expect the romantic life person to fill up all the gas tanks. Like they're only supposed to fill up the romantic one, and they're hopefully going to overflow it, but like they can't be in charge of filling up like your self-love tank and your career tank and all the tanks. Like they're only in charge of one. You can't rely on them for all of it. And I think that's where we get into trouble, because like either somebody will rely on us to fill up all of our tanks, or we'll rely on someone to fill up all of our tanks, and then you just start resenting them. And I think that's kind of what I mean.
So I don't think that's where you've always been at though, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so how did you go from like kind of like almost the opposite of that to getting to like a very stable place?
Yeah. So I think I realized like that I relied really heavily on male validation and affirmation throughout college. And like when I was in my like first year of post-grad, I was really like struggling with that. And I was like, I've been single for a year and a half. Like I really want to have a boyfriend, but like it was definitely for the wrong reasons. And I was like going on a bunch of dates and nothing was working out. And then one day I realized that I just like didn't have to be going on dates if I didn't want to be. And then there was no time in my brain I could think of when I was truly ever single, like single and not dating, single and just alone and fine with that. So I forced myself to do it and like get off the apps and just like not talk to anybody. And it was super uncomfortable. But in that time, I realized that I was relying on one person, or like just a guy, any guy, to fill up all the tanks that he could. And like that's just unrealistic. Even when the guys sucked, it's still unrealistic, because they're not going to be able to fill up even their tank if they suck, let alone the rest of them. You know what I mean? And I just realized like the romantic tank is like probably the last one on the list that you require to fuel yourself to keep going. Like you need your self-love tank, your self-respect tank. Like for me, I need like my career tank because I love what I do. I need my family. I need my friends. Like, and when all those tanks were getting filled up by the right things, I like felt so energized again. And like I really just like felt reset and knew who I was. And then I met Avery when I wasn't even dating, like, or wasn't even looking for things. I was just working on myself and like reorganizing the way that I saw things in my life. And like I think it was that break and like that forced discomfort that really helped me to get there. I always say like discomfort is something I really love, because it's when you get to know yourself the most. And like it was really uncomfortable for me to not date, because like I really relied on that for my whole life. And like for whatever reason, I mean, my mom met my dad when she was 21, and like she always had boyfriends and whatever, and like maybe like watching her, I thought that I was supposed to do that too. And then when I didn't reach the milestone of meeting the person I was going to marry when I was 21, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? That has nothing to do with my mom or my parents. They're in a happy relationship to this day, and like the best relationship I've ever seen. But it's like her path didn't need to be my path. She never even she was the one that told me to stop dating. But I think I was just like looking at their relationship as the one that I was supposed to model my life around. But like I would be fine being single for my whole life at this point. Like I like really like my life, and like I love my boyfriend. I'm like, I want to be with him forever. Like right now, I'm not a big forward thinking person, but like I like in my brain right now, that's what I want. But I also know that I would be fine being single forever because of how like much work I've done to like who I am when I'm alone.
When you and Avery went on your first date, was it like immediately I like him, or did you have to go, like did you like go on like a second and then it kind of grew?
It's so funny that you asked, because it's like it was kind of interesting. So our first date, I didn't like immediately like him, but I knew that we were gonna fall in love. I am a very spiritual person, so I'm not religious like at all, but I'm very like, I don't even know how to say this without sounding like crunchy, whatever. I'm very like spiritually connected person. Like I get premonitions, like I have really, really strong gut instincts, and like I was just sitting there. I didn't even have like any urge to like, I wasn't like sitting there like, oh my God, I want to fuck you. Like I wasn't sitting there like, oh my God, I'm in love with him, I'm obsessed. I didn't have butterflies. I felt really comfortable, like literally like you and I are sitting here right now chatting, like just somebody that I'd known for 20 years. And I just when I left, I just gave him a hug goodbye, and he asked me on a second date, and I just walked away, and I was like, I should probably cut off on my hose now, or like tell them they're done, because like we're fully falling in love. And like I've told him this now, and obviously he didn't feel that way. That's crazy. Like nobody feels that way. And it's interesting because it wasn't like I even liked him yet. I just knew what was coming. Like I could predict. And then I think by like our third or fourth date, I was really like, okay, I really like him now. But like it took a little while, and I always say that comfort is really more important than like immediate attraction. And this is just a me thing, and I have slept with people on the first date. I have hooked up with people on the first date. I think it's weird to expect to put your tongue in somebody else's mouth that you just met on a first date. Like, I actually, like, don't want your mouth near mine on a first date. Like, I fucking don't know you. And, like, when I am making out with someone in a bar, that is what I'm thinking of. Like, when I'm in a bar gonna make out with a stranger, it's like, I want to put your tongue in my mouth. I'm drunk and we're in a bar. I want to go home with you. I'm blacked out and in a bar. Like, we want to do this. Like, this is what's happening. That's where my intention is. But when I'm meeting somebody on a first date and like having a lovely conversation and drinking and eating or doing whatever, I'm not thinking like, let's just like kiss right now. Like that's a lot for me.
Totally different vibes.
I think it's weird. It's not my thing, but like not to yuck anyone's yum. And yes, I have done it. I think everybody has, but like we didn't kiss on our first date, and I'm so happy that we didn't, because I just like I was like, I don't want to kiss someone I don't know.
It was
and I wasn't sober, but it wasn't like I was like drunk on a night out like looking to make out. It was like I was on a date getting to know somebody, and I wasn't really ready to just like, let's kiss. Like, I don't know. So I just hugged him goodbye.
It's so crazy that you say that about the premonition and like feeling something. Every single person besides one, because one like grew, for the most part, every guy that I've ever dated like seriously or long term, or it's been like a bigger thing, when I meet them, I can tell. Like immediately I'm like, we're gonna date, even if I don't like them. Like even I'm like, I just like have it. And even there's been times where it's like a year later. Like it's just very, I'm like, oh, maybe I was wrong. And then nope.
It happens.
It's really crazy. Okay, last question. This is a really hot topic. Okay. What do you do when you hate your best friend's boyfriend?
Okay, I have a hot take on this. So my only time that you're ever allowed to intervene is if your friend is being emotionally or physically abused or manipulated, period, or sexually. Otherwise, it has nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry. Like, he's not your boyfriend. First of all, your friend's boyfriend is not supposed to be your friend. He's not in the group chat. He's not coming to the girls' nights. Like, if she's acting like you're under him and like she's not spending as much time with you anymore, you can simply bring it up to her and just be like, we miss you, whatever, we're so happy you're happy, we miss you. But if you genuinely hate him and he's not doing anything really wrong, I'm so sorry, that has nothing to do with you. Like, I hate to say it, but like it really bothers me when people are like, I hate my friend's boyfriend, what do I do? I'm like, literally nothing. As long as he's not hurting her, like nothing. And it's a hot take, but it's like, he wasn't meant to be your friend.
He's not dating you.
You're not dating him.
Yeah.
You have no idea what.
It's also opinion based.
Literally, you have no idea what she sees in him. Like, so many times I've met my friends' boyfriends and been like, I don't really like him, and then I pulled back and realized, no, not everything's about you. You wouldn't date him because he's not right for you, because you're not her. But he treats her wonderfully. He loves her. She loves him. So yeah, because you wouldn't date him. Like, I think a lot of times we look at like our friends' significant others and we're like, I would never date that person. It's like, good, you're not.
Exactly. Like, that's the point.
This annoys me so fucking much. Like, obviously, if your friend is like misbehaving in the relationship and she's like not prioritizing you guys, obviously that's a reason to say something. But what I'm talking about is like, he's not in the group chat. Like, when are you going to see him? When he comes over to sleep over, maybe, if you run into him in the kitchen, on a birthday party, at a pregame. Like, you don't even need to talk to him. Like, he's not your friend. He never was. Like, I don't get it. Don't waste your brain space on them. Just,
what do you do if they're being like emotionally manipulated?
I think that you just have to like sit down and be like, we're really, really worried about you. Like, and as somebody who's been in sort of like emotionally abusive relationships in the past, like, sometimes you can't see it. And I think that there's different levels, obviously. Like, if things are like really, really dangerous and bad, like, you're gonna have to like get their parents involved, call hotlines, like, do what you need to do. But if it's like on a smaller scale, I think you just need to sit them down and be like, we're just genuinely worried about you, and like, we really don't want to like get up from this conversation until like we can like get to like a conclusion about this, because like this is scaring us, and like we're not. I think something that's really important to remember is that you can be in an abusive relationship and still love the person. I think that's what's so hard, is that like people love their abusers. They're in love with them for a reason. Like, people trust them. Like, it's really difficult to like bridge that topic with somebody who's in an abusive relationship. And I think you have to like, you can't just go into it being like, he sucks, he's terrible, he's hurting you. I think you have to be like, we get that you love him. Like, we want to start there. Like, we know you love this person. We know you trust this person. We believe you when you say that there are good qualities, that there are good times, but we're also really worried about you. And like, we're frankly scared. I think you can't lead with like, this person is horrible. Because then your friends are like, then your friend is literally just gonna be like, I'm just gonna go run back to them because at least they make me feel hurt and you guys are just like attacking me.
They're put on the defense at that point. Yeah. It's hard too because I feel the same. I know I've said that so many times in this episode, but I feel the same way about like if your friend is dating someone and there's nothing that they're doing wrong, like you just don't like him because you don't like his personality or you don't whatever, like that doesn't matter. It's none of your business. Like, you need to be happy for them. But I do think there is when it comes to like obviously like emotional manipulation or anything further, like that's obviously a totally different conversation. Yeah. It is hard because it can really hinder your friendship with them. Yeah. So the way in which you do it has to come from a very loving place and not from a place that's like, we know more than you, or he's wrong, or we hate him, or whatever.
Also,
like,
just like ask questions.
Yes. And like the script that you gave basically is perfect. Like it's just don't put them on the defense because again, they find comfort in that person. They're going to run to that person and that's going to like drive you further away. So then potentially there's no help. So the way in which you communicate is incredibly important.
Literally. Agree.
Perfect. Okay, well, we recorded a swap, guys. So if you're done listening to this, go listen to Eli's podcast. But where can they find you other than that?
Okay, so my name is Eli. My TikTok is The Jar with 2 R's. My Instagram is eli.rallo. And then my podcast is Miss Congeniality, but it's linked to my Insta. So if you find that, you'll find the podcast.
I love it. My favorite follow literally ever. So everyone go follow her.
I love you. This was so fun. I love you so much, actually.
Love you. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know by giving it a nice thumbs up and subscribe for more.